Think about a movement that's really shaped African American identity, shaped discourse for almost a century now.
Mm-hmm. A major force.
Built on self-reliance, a unique spiritual path. We're doing a deep dive today into the Nation of Islam.
And it's a fascinating time for them, really a pivotal moment.
Exactly, because you have these long, influential leaderships, Elijah Muhammad, then Louis Farrakhan.
Decades of influence.
Yeah.
So the question of who comes next, well, it matters
Hmm.
a lot. Not just for members, but for the wider conversation about Black identity, about religion in America.
Right. So our mission here is to really unpack that, look at the history, the current situation, and who might, step up to lead the NOI next.
Basically, getting you up to speed on a key transition for a really enduring group.
It all started back in 1930, Wallace Fard Muhammad. What was his core message then?
Well, you have to remember the context. Jim Crow era.
Right. Deep segregation, oppression.
Exactly. So Fard Muhammad brought this vision, very powerful, focused on Black self-determination. It blended Islamic ideas with a really strong emphasis on Black pride, economic independence.
And that resonated.
Deeply, with African Americans facing, systemic racism everywhere.
Then Elijah Muhammad takes over in 34, and he's the one who really builds the NOI into this multifaceted organization we know.
Absolutely. He established not just mosques, but schools, businesses.
That whole infrastructure.
Yes, an infrastructure for self-sufficiency, for pride. He had a huge impact and inspired people like Malcolm X, for instance.
His leadership was really formative, setting down those core ideas.
Absolutely. Economic independence was key, cultural pride, a strict moral code. It gave the organization a really strong foundation, helped it weather a lot of storms over the years.
Okay, then fast forward to 1978. Minister Louis Farrakhan steps in. He rebuilds the NOI after, a major split in the organization.
A very significant moment. And his leadership, well, it saw huge events. The Million Man March in '95 is probably the most famous.
Undeniably a massive mobilization. He's been a powerful figure. But now, he's 91.
Right. And that age, naturally, brings the succession question right to the forefront. His time leading has seen big achievements, but also, ongoing public scrutiny.
Okay, so that's the setup. We want to understand why now is such a critical time for this transition, look at potential leaders, and figure out the challenges ahead for whoever takes over.
Let's start with why this moment feels so crucial.
Yeah, why now?
Well, it's a mix of internal and external pressures, really. Internally, you got a diverse membership, long-term members, younger folks, people in the diaspora.
Different perspectives.
Different perspectives, yeah. And the leader needs to hold that together, keep everyone focused on the core teachings, self-reliance, Black empowerment, while managing those differences.
That's a big internal challenge. And then externally?
Externally, the NOI's relationship with the public has always been, complicated.
Understatement, maybe.
Perhaps. They face constant scrutiny. Critics, law enforcement. The hate group label gets thrown around a lot, often because of specific rhetoric.
Even with their community work.
Exactly, despite significant community programs. So the next leader has to navigate that really carefully. It requires a lot of skill.
So it's internal unity plus managing that external perception and the broader issues they tackle.
Still incredibly relevant. Economic inequality, systemic racism. These are deep problems. The next leader needs to keep addressing those and also figure out the NOI's role in a world that's more globalized, where Islam and Black identity connect in new ways.
How does the NOI usually pick its leaders? It's not like a vote, is it?
No, not at all. Historically, it's been more hierarchical. It emphasizes spiritual authority, someone with proven organizational skills, and definitely someone who can inspire people, who can communicate effectively.
So charisma is key.
Charisma, absolutely, but also a deep grasp of the doctrine and increasingly adaptability. They need to guide the group through today's very polarized America.
And this decision, it echoes beyond just the NOI members.
Oh, definitely. Many in the African American community look to the nation for a strong voice on important issues. So who leads next matters widely.
Okay, so who are the names we hear most often, the potential successors?
Well, when you look at people who've come up through the ranks, who really seem to embody the NOI's principles, two names pop up frequently: Minister Ishmael Muhammad and Minister Akua Abubakar.
Ishmael Muhammad and Akua Abubakar.
Right. But it's important to remember, the NOI has a whole network of ministers. Other people could emerge. It's not necessarily just these two.
Let's take Ismail Muhammad first. He seems quite prominent.
He is. He holds a really significant position. He's the eldest son of Elijah Muhammad and Tanetta Muhammad.
So a direct link to the founder's family.
A very direct historical connection. And right now, he's the National Assistant Minister to Farrakhan and also the Student Minister at Mosque Mariam in Chicago. That's their headquarters. He's been in leadership roles for decades.
And it's not just about lineage, right? He has his own track record.
Absolutely. He spoke at the Million Man March back in '95, showed he could handle huge crowds, and maybe more telling, in 2013, Farrakhan was ill, and Ismail Muhammad gave the main speech at the Holy Day of Atonement.
That sounds like a clear signal.
It was widely seen that way, yeah, as a sign of Farrakhan's trust, maybe grooming him for more responsibility.
And his approach to the teachings.
Seems very rooted in his father's teachings, Elijah Muhammad's work. That would appeal to the traditional base, definitely. But he was also, what, in his early 60s? So maybe he can connect with younger members, too?
A potential bridge figure, then. Tradition and modernity?
That seems to be the perception, yes. Committed to tradition, but also pragmatic. He's involved in outreach, education programs focused on that self-reliance core.
And his speeches.
Often focus on unity, discipline, economic empowerment. Things right at the heart of the NOI mission, but also addressing today's issues, like poverty in cities, inequality.
Okay, but the fact that he is Elijah Muhammad's son, could that be debated internally?
Oh, for sure. It's a factor. Some might see it as a natural continuation, honoring history. Others might feel leadership should be purely based on merit, not family ties. Dynastic succession isn't always popular.
Good point. Okay, let's switch to Minister Akua Abubakar. You said he's less public.
That's right. Less is publicly known about his background compared to Ismail Muhammad. He's often described as more of a scholarly figure.
Scholarly? How so?
Deep understanding of NOI theology, very rigorous in his thinking, is the reputation. It suggests maybe a shift towards more intellectual leadership if you were to take charge.
A different style, maybe?
Potentially. The idea is he could be strong on articulating NOI ideology, maybe in academic circles, or globally.
Especially with that diaspora outreach you mentioned, places like Bogota, Mexico City.
Exactly. In those contexts, someone with that intellectual grounding could be really effective in building bridges, explaining the NOI's perspective internationally.
But the lower profile is a challenge.
It is. Compared to Ismail Muhammad, he's less visible. He'd likely need to show more publicly how he can inspire, mobilize the base,
Right.
maybe through getting more involved in big programs or speaking out more.
Show how the scholarship translates to leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. What about others? You mentioned a network.
Yeah, the NOI structure has mosques, ministers all over.
Mm-hmm.
So others could definitely step up. Think of someone like Student Minister Tony Muhammad in L.A.
What's his focus?
He's known for really strong community organizing, anti-violence work, very grassroots. That kind of leader, deeply connected on the ground, represents another vital part of the NOI.
Someone hands-on in the community.
Right. And, history shows surprises happen. Elijah Muhammad wasn't widely known at first. Farrakhan rebuilt things after being less prominent for a while.
So a dark horse isn't impossible.
Not at all. Could be a younger minister, maybe really good with tech and social media,
Mm-hmm.
or a regional leader with strong local support who suddenly gains national traction.
Keeps things interesting. Now, whoever gets the role, they face big challenges. What are the main ones?
Well, one huge one is bridging the generations within the NOI.
The digital divide.
Partly, yeah. Younger members grew up online. They might expect more digital engagement, maybe different ways of talking about social issues. Older members might lean more towards traditional teaching methods.
Finding that balance.
Exactly. Maybe expanding the online stuff, building on their social media, the final call newspaper's presence. The next leader needs to connect across those generational lines.
And the public image issue isn't going away.
No, that persistent negative perception, the accusations of anti-Semitism, extremism, it needs careful handling, very strategic communication.
Could someone like Ismail Muhammad with maybe a more measured style help there?
It's possible. His rhetoric often seems more measured. Maybe that could help broaden appeal while still defending core beliefs. It's a tightrope walk.
And the economic and social work.
It's still crucial. That focus on self-sufficiency, the businesses, community programs. The next leader will probably need to find ways to grow those, maybe even take them more global, where communities face similar economic struggles.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, maybe places like Bucaramanga or Cuenca.
Taking the model further afield, and then there's the question of Islam itself.
Right. The NOI has this unique blend of Islam and black nationalism. It's distinct from mainstream Sunni or Shia Islam?
So the choices.
Does the next leader push for closer ties with global Muslim communities? Some ministers have been doing that in Africa, the Caribbean. Or do they maintain that distinct NOI identity as the primary focus? It's a big strategic decision.
Wow, yeah. Those are major challenges. So when you boil it down, what makes a great NOI leader historically and looking forward?
Historically, you see a few key things. Spiritual authority, definitely. Strong organizational skills, and crucially, that ability to inspire, to mobilize people.
Like Elijah Muhammad building the movement.
Exactly. Or Farrakhan's charisma, his way with words, keeping the NOI relevant for decades.
Okay, so for the next leader, what's essential?
I'd say a few things. One, deep commitment to the doctrine. Knowing Elijah Muhammad's teachings, like Message to the Black Man, inside out.
Doctrinal fidelity.
Right. Two, charisma and communication. Ability to rally people, connect with big crowds. Think Farrakhan's speeches or Ishmael Muhammad at the Million Man March.
You got it. What else?
Adaptability. That's huge now. Handling modern issues, tech, globalization, race dynamics. And four, a real focus on community. Commitment to the social programs, education, economic empowerment.
Based on that list, Ishmael Muhammad seems to tick a lot of boxes.
He does appear to, yeah. The lineage, the long experience, the public profile, he seems well-positioned.
But Abubakar.
His scholarly angle, that intellectual depth, could be really valuable too. It offers a different kind of strength. But again, the visibility is lower.
And the wild card possibility.
Always possible someone else steps up and really shows they have that combination of qualities.
So the stakes here are incredibly high. This isn't just an internal shift.
Not at all. It matters for the NOI's future, absolutely. But it also resonates through the African American community and even the wider Muslim world watches.
A strong leader could really boost their impact.
For sure. Expand the economic work, the education, the global connections. There's potential there.
But the risk.
A bad transition, a divisive choice. It could fracture the organization. We saw that happen back in the 70s with the split involving Wariyuddin Muhammad.
Yeah.
So unity is crucial.
And you mentioned the global resonance earlier.
Yeah, that message of identity, empowerment.
Yeah.
It connects with diaspora communities facing similar issues all over. Think Medellin, think Baguio City.
So many places.
The next leader has this chance to tap into that global potential, connect on those universal themes of justice, self-determination. But they have to do it while staying true to the NOI's roots.
That's the balancing act again. Okay, bringing this deep dive towards a close then. If you had to guess, who seems most likely right now?
Well, based on everything we know publicly, Minister Ishmael Muhammad looks like a very strong contender.
The experience, the lineage.
Exactly. The experience, the lineage, the visibility, that 2013 speech. It all points towards him being prepared for a bigger role.
But you wouldn't rule out others.
No. Abubakar's intellectual approach is genuinely interesting. Could that signal a new direction? And like we said, you can never completely discount a surprise candidate emerging from the network.
So it really boils down to what path the NOI chooses next, doesn't it?
I think so. Is it doubling down on tradition, focusing inward? Or is it adapting more, looking outward, engaging more globally? The next leader's direction will tell us a lot.
Will it be honoring the past above all, or embracing innovation for a new generation?
That's the core question, isn't it? Finding someone who can do both respect that deep history while also connecting effectively, locally, and globally today. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
It certainly will. Thanks for walking us through all that complexity.